Hi everyone, and today's video here at TrainAid is looking at our level 4 IQA qualification, and it's understanding the professional discussion element between the qualified IQA and the candidate IQA undertaking the qualification. So as we know, for criteria 9 of Unit 2 of our IQA portfolio, the candidate IQA needs to observe the two assessors within their teaching or assessing role. One of those observations needs to be observed by a qualified IQA. And after that observation, a professional discussion should take place between the qualified IQA and the candidate IQA. And this is very much the final element of the IQA qualification. So we're just going to have a look at the professional discussion template to be completed by the candidate IQA. Okay, so the professional discussion is an opportunity for a qualified IQA to ask a series of questions to the candidate IQA. This is going to give them some further help and advice on how to improve their IQA practice. And it's also to take stock of their strengths as an IQA, what things have gone well during their IQA portfolio of evidence. And it's just an opportunity to ask and seek out some answers, perhaps look at some future targets or qualifications or training that the candidate IQA can undertake. So here we have the professional discussion form. So this is to be completed by the candidate IQA after the observation. Okay, and so just a few pointers. Please conduct the professional discussion after the IQA observation. The professional discussion can be handwritten or typed. The professional discussion should take place, it should be conducted within a quiet environment between the qualified IQA and the candidate IQA as well. So on the left-hand side, all questions to be asked by a qualified IQA to the candidate IQA undertaking the qualification. So we have a series of questions to be asked by the qualified IQA, and we have the candidate IQA responses here. So the candidate IQA is going to give their response. Now you have a choice here. The qualified IQA can, of course, write down the candidate IQA's responses, or the candidate IQA can write down their responses as well. The professional discussion can also, of course, be written, but it also can be recorded and written up afterwards as well. So sometimes that's useful for being in the moment. And you can, of course, do a voice recording, but you will need to write out your answers afterwards as well. So that's just a thought there. But a voice recording is good supporting evidence. So let's just have a look at a series of questions and talk you through them. So just as a reminder, this section is going to be asked by the qualified IQA. So 1.1, as an IQA, how do you plan monitoring activities? How many assessors do you verify? And how many units do you monitor? So that's asking quite a broad question about the candidate IQA's practice. Who are they monitoring? What assessors, what activities, what qualifications they're monitoring, how many learners are involved, how many units as well are being monitored. So just a general broad question to begin the professional discussion there. 1.2, what activities do you need to arrange and how often? For example, arranging team and standardization meetings, observing assessors live, perhaps how often do these take place, and sampling learner work. If you are going to be a qualified IQA, you need to sample marked work by an assessor. So just asking the candidate IQA for those questions, those pointers about their current or future IQA role, how often do these meetings take place? So that's a good question for the candidate IQA to respond there. 2.1 is what activities have you carried out for this IQA portfolio? So it could be observing the assessor live and also sampling assessor marked work, for example, or reviewing assessor reports is what we're likely to see for that question there. 2.2 is how do you judge assessors' performances? What are you judging them on? So perhaps some standards and criteria. So the candidate IQA could here just talk about what they use in terms of making a judgment. So it could be the standards or criteria provided by an awarding body. It could be some standard provided by a college, so like an internal observation report. Question 2.3 is how do you judge the planning of assessments? For example, briefs, questions, time to complete. So in terms of 2.3, I guess it's all to do with looking at the assessor's paperwork. So do you make a judgment of planning of assessment? So do you look at the assessor's paperwork? Do you look at perhaps a session plan? It could be an assignment brief. So just looking very much more at the paperwork, the actual internal observation development as well. Okay. For question 2.4 is how do you determine that assessment methods are safe, fair, valid, and reliable? So that's V for valid, F for fair, S for safe, and also reliable as well. So those key terms there. So it's looking obviously at the assessor and making a judgment on their assessment method. So is it safe? Is it fair, valid, and also reliable as well? So just getting the candidate IQA to think about those key terms that we've seen within assessing and the IQA role, and just thinking, when observing an assessor, are assessments safe? If so, why are they safe? Why are assessment methods fair, for example? So just being obviously thinking about an IQA and their role there and making a judgment on assessments there. 2.5 is how do you check assessment conditions against the set criteria? What course criteria was used for this portfolio? So once again, it's just looking at the criteria there. What are you using and why? Okay, so just showing that the candidate IQA is familiar with these type of criteria or standards to make a judgment on assessors' work. 2.6 is how do you compare different assessors' decisions, such as perhaps within standardization meetings or having one-to-one review meetings with assessors. 3.1 is how do you give feedback to assessors? Do you offer them CPD? So feedback from a candidate IQA could be given to an assessor, perhaps verbally, written. The next key question is 3.2. How do you standardize assessment practice between assessors? So perhaps once again, within standardization meetings, comparing of marked work. Okay, so hopefully the candidate IQA can recognize through perhaps these standardization meetings that you can see different assessors' work and interpretations of marking criteria. 4.1 is how do you record quality assurance activities? So either now or in the future, and where will these records be stored as well? So that's very important for data protection. So especially within the role of an IQA is to keep records safe and accurate as well. 4.2 is how do you ensure confidentiality within your IQA role? So the candidate IQA could explain about confidentiality measures, things they do, perhaps within their current or future IQA role, to promote confidentiality with learners' work and also assessors as well. Now, a few more key questions is 5.1 and 5.2. What internal policies do you follow? What legislation or regulations do you follow? And how do you promote equality and diversity within your IQA role. So the candidate IQA undertaking the qualification can talk here about the different legislations, policies that they have used, and also how to promote equality and diversity as well. They may be new to certain policies and procedures, and that's absolutely fine. So you could have discussion about current or future policies here. Finally, we have a look to the future. So 5.3 is what are your strengths as an IQA and what are your areas for development as well. So at the tail end of the portfolio, the qualified IQA can talk to the candidate IQA about their strengths and also areas for development. And finally, criteria 5.4 is what future training can you undertake to improve as an IQA. So it doesn't have to be another IQA qualification. Of course, a lead IQA qualification could be an area that they go into, but it could be things such as informal training. Arranging perhaps a standardization meeting could be their first one. Arranging standardization meeting on Zoom or Teams, that could be quite a new development there that they do. And finally, we have the sign-off section. We have the candidate IQA name and the candidate IQA signature along with the date, and the qualified IQA name, qualified IQA signature there, and the date, and the train aid name and signature. That is for office use only. So there we have it. This is the professional discussion template. It's roughly 2 pages long. It can be written, it can be typed. So just remember, this is between the qualified IQA and the candidate IQA as well. So this is very much the final element of Unit 2 of the IQA course. If you do have any questions regarding anything on the professional discussion, or if you need any help or guidance with completing this form and breaking it down further, please do get in contact with the team. Thank you very much for watching. We hope to see you on one of our future Train Aid courses. Please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.